All right, let's talk about one of the biggest hurdles for any professional in Switzerland, the job search. We're going to dive into a powerful strategy that pretty much flips the old school approach on its head and puts you back in the driver's seat. It's all about proactive networking.
Now, all the strategies and the entire blueprint we're about to walk through have been put together by the experts over at swisscareer.coach. They're designed to give you a serious advantage in the super competitive Swiss market. But before we get to the solution, we have to talk about the problem. A really common and, let's be honest, super frustrating experience, what I call the job search trap. This is where so many job hunts just get stuck. So does this ring a bell? You spend hours, maybe even days, perfecting your CV, writing tailored cover letters, and firing off applications into, the digital void. And then, crickets. Just silence. If you're nodding your head right now, trust me, you are not alone. That's just the tough reality of a reactive job search. Okay, this slide breaks it down perfectly. Look at the left side, the reactive search. This is where most people live, spending a whopping 80% of their time just scrolling through job boards. And the result? A really low response rate, because you're fighting with hundreds of other people for the very same publicly listed jobs. Now, look at the right, the proactive search. This flips the entire script. Here, you spend 80% of your time networking. And what does that do? It gets you access to that hidden job market and helps you create real, high-impact connections. That is where the magic happens. So the big question is, how do you make that leap from reactive to proactive? Well, it all kicks off with a huge shift in your mindset. We've got to stop thinking about networking as just asking for a job and start seeing it for what it truly is, a chance to build genuine human connections. And here it is. This is probably the single most important rule to remember. When you ask someone directly for a job, you put them on the spot. It creates pressure, it can get awkward. But when you ask for their advice, you're actually paying them a compliment. You're showing that you respect their expertise, and you open the door for a real conversation. It completely changes the vibe from a transaction to a relationship. So, what does asking for advice actually look like in practice? Well, these are some fantastic examples right here. Notice that none of these are secretly asking, hey, can you get me a job? No way. Instead, you're looking for their unique insights, you're showing you're committed to fitting into the local market, and you're getting incredibly valuable feedback. These are the kinds of questions that build real rapport, and you know what? They often lead to job referrals all on their own.
This brings us right to our first big, actionable pillar, building your foundation. Because let's face it, before you can ask for advice, you actually need people to ask. It's all about being systematic and creating your own local support system from the ground up.
The three-circle strategy makes this whole process feel so much less overwhelming. You start with your first circle. These are your easy wins. Friends, old colleagues, anyone you already have a relationship with here. Then you move outwards to your second circle. Think about your acquaintances, the other parents at your kid's school, your doctor, people from your German class. And finally, you expand to that third circle by joining clubs or professional groups that line up with your interests. The point is, everybody has a place to start.
Okay, so you've started tapping into the circles you already have. Now it's time for the really proactive part, reaching out to the people and companies you don't know, at least not yet.
This is a super strategic four-step game plan. First, you identify your top 20 dream companies. Next, you go on LinkedIn and follow their senior leaders. And I'm talking about department heads, team leads, directors, not just HR. Then comes the really crucial step. You engage with their posts. Leave a thoughtful comment. Like their updates. You're basically warming up the connection so you're not a total stranger. Only then, after you've popped up on their radar a few times, do you send that connection request.
And that whole idea of warming things up applies to reaching out to individuals too. A totally cold message is just so easy for someone to ignore. Your goal is to find some piece of common ground first. Maybe you went to the same university, worked at the same company years ago, or you're both from the same country. That common ground is like a little bridge that makes your first conversation feel natural.
This template is just a perfect example of how to do it right. It's friendly, it establishes that common ground right away, and this is key. The ask is super low pressure. You're not asking for a job or a favor, you're just asking for a few minutes of their time to hear about their experience. You would be absolutely shocked at how many people are willing to help when you approach them like this. Our third and final pillar is all about taking things offline, or at least into a live setting, whether that's in person or virtual. You know, networking events can be an absolute gold mine, but only if you know how to approach them the right way. Finding events is actually the easy part. Sites like Meetup or Eventbrite are packed with them. The real magic, the part that most people skip, is in the follow-up. The golden rule here is to connect with them on LinkedIn, maybe an email, within 24 hours. And don't just say, hey, it was nice to meet you. Add value. Send them that interesting article you were talking about or a link you think they'd find useful. That's what makes you memorable and turns a quick chat into a lasting professional contact.
So, we've covered a lot of ground, but the most important thing to remember is that these pillars don't exist in a vacuum. They're designed to work together as a complete, repeatable system. So let's put it all together in one simple blueprint.
And there you have it, your whole proactive strategy in one clear snapshot. You build your local network to create that solid foundation. You use direct outreach to get that priceless insider knowledge. And you leverage events to constantly expand your network with warm contacts. Each part has a clear action and a clear goal, giving you a powerful roadmap to navigate the Swiss job market.
Okay, we've talked through the what and the why, but none of that matters without the when. And the when is right now. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. Looking at this blueprint, what is the one proactive step you're going to commit to taking this week? Are you going to reach out to your first circle, identify your top 20 companies, or maybe sign up for a networking event?
Look, I get it. Turning all this knowledge into real action is often the hardest part. But that's truly where success is found. For more detailed resources, message templates, and even one-on-one coaching to help you put all this into practice, make sure you visit swisscareer.coach. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.